The pen stilled in Robert Caldwell's hand. November wind rattled the study windows while lamplight pooled across shipping ledgers and contract. Proposals. The grandfather clock read 8:30. He'd been working since Emma went to bed, or so he'd assumed. Then he heard it, clear as church bells on Sunday morning. "Mama, can you braid my hair?" His chest tightened. Margaret had been dead 3 years. He set down the pen carefully, rose from the leather chair, and moved toward the kitchen. Each step felt heavy, deliberate, like walking through water. The doorway framed them perfectly. Emma sat on a wooden stool. Her small shoulders relaxed in a way Robert couldn't remember seeing. Gloria stood behind her, fingers working gently through tangles of dark hair. The housekeeper's movements carried a practiced tenderness, the kind that came from years of mothering. Lamplight gilded them both. Emma's eyes were closed, a faint smile on her lips. Gloria hummed something soft, almost a lullaby. The kitchen smelled of bread and cinnamon, warmth radiating from the stove. Robert's throat closed. When had his daughter last looked so content? "You have beautiful hair," Gloria said quietly, "like a raven's wing. Papa says I look like my mother." Emma's voice held no sadness, just simple fact. "Then your mother must have been very beautiful." Robert stepped back before either could see him. He retreated to his study, closed the door, and stood in the darkness. The ledgers on his desk seemed suddenly meaningless. Numbers and contracts and shipping routes. He'd built an empire while his daughter learned to braid hair from a woman he'd hired 3 months ago, a woman whose name he barely knew. He sank into his chair and pressed his palms against his eyes. Margaret's death had gutted him. He'd buried himself in work because work didn't require him to feel. The company needed him. Emma had nurses, tutors, servants. But she'd called Gloria Mama. The word echoed in his mind like an accusation he couldn't escape. He'd given his daughter everything money could buy. Everything except what she needed most. Robert opened his eyes and stared at the cold fireplace. Outside, wind moaned through the eaves. Inside, the silence felt thick enough to choke on. He'd been deaf to his own child, and it had taken a stranger's kindness to finally make him hear, 3 months earlier. Gloria Hayes had stood in Marcus Hendricks's office with her last shred of dignity wrapped around her like a threadbare shawl. "You understand what I'm offering," Hendricks said. He leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. Rain hammered the windows behind him. Gloria understood perfectly. She wasn't stupid, just desperate. There was a difference, though the distance between them seemed to shrink with every passing day. Her husband Daniel had died 6 months prior. Pneumonia took him slow, each labored breath costing money they didn't have. The doctors tried everything. Nothing worked. When it ended, Gloria had 3 children under 10 and debts totaling more than she'd earned in 5 years. She'd tried. God knew she'd tried. The laundry business failed when her biggest client found cheaper help. Seamstress work dried up. The boarding house landlord wanted his rent. Her children's faces had grown hollow, their eyes too large. "You'd be his housekeeper," Hendricks continued. "Respectable work, good wages." "And the other part," Hendricks smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Robert Caldwell keeps certain documents in his private study. Shipping contracts, route information, supplier agreements. I need copies." "That's theft. That's business. Mrs. Hayes, Caldwell has more money than he could spend in 3 lifetimes. You're trying to feed your children on soup broth." He slid an envelope across the polished desk. 1 month's rent, advance on your salary." Gloria stared at the envelope. Inside was survival. Outside was everything Daniel had taught her about honor. But Daniel was dead. Their children were alive and hungry. "Why me?" Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "Because you're invisible. Servants always are. Caldwell won't notice a poor widow cleaning his floors." Hendricks opened a drawer and withdrew papers. Employment contract. You start Monday. Gloria's hands trembled as she picked up the envelope. The paper felt heavier than it should, like she was holding pieces of her soul. What if I can't find the documents? You will. Desperate people always do. She signed the contract. The pen scratched across paper, sealing something she couldn't name. When she left his office, rain soaked through her thin coat. She barely noticed. That night, she held her children close. Thomas asked why she was crying. Sarah patted her hand. Little Michael just pressed his face against her shoulder. Mama found work, she whispered. Good work. We'll be all right. The lie tasted like ash, but her children smiled, and that was worth almost anything. Almost. Gloria discovered quickly that Robert Caldwell's mansion contained more loneliness than grandeur. She rose before dawn each morning, worked until the house gleamed, then caught the streetcar back to the boarding house where her children waited. The wages were good. She sent most of it home, kept barely enough for her own meals. The work itself wasn't difficult. Robert barely acknowledged her existence. He left early, returned late, took meals in his study. His daughter Emma wandered the halls like a ghost in expensive dresses. The child gravitated toward Gloria within days. Can I help? Emma appeared in the kitchen doorway, all dark curls and hopeful eyes. Shouldn't you be with your tutor? Lessons finished an hour ago. Papa's working. The girl's voice held no complaint, just resignation. Gloria softened. I suppose you could help me dust the library. Emma's face lit up like Christmas morning. She chattered while they worked, asked questions about everything. Did Gloria have children? What were their names? Did they like stories? I have 3, Gloria said, running her cloth along mahogany shelves. Thomas is 8, Sarah's 6, and Michael just turned 4. You must miss them. Every minute of every day. Emma grew quiet. Then, I miss having a mama. Gloria's hand stilled. She looked at the child. Saw grief still raw despite 3 years passing. Tell me about her. They sat together while Emma described her mother. The stories tumbled out tea parties, bedtime songs, the way Margaret Caldwell had smelled like roses. Gloria listened and ached. This child needed more than tutors and empty rooms. Weeks passed. Gloria learned the house's rhythms, its secrets. She found Margaret's journal on a parlor shelf, pages filled with elegant script. Robert apparently couldn't bear to put it away, but couldn't bear to read it either. One entry contained something unexpected, the combination to Robert's private safe, written casually among grocery lists and social engagements. Gloria stared at those numbers. Her path to Hendrix's documents had just opened wide. That evening, a message arrived at the boarding house. Hendrix's handwriting, curt and demanding, time to deliver, this week. Gloria sat on her narrow bed while her children slept nearby. Thomas had mentioned soup again at dinner. Sarah hadn't complained. But Gloria knew the truth. They were still hungry. Always hungry. She could end that. She knew the combination. She could wait until Robert left for his office, open the safe, copy whatever documents Hendrix wanted. Her children would eat. The landlord would be paid. All it required was betrayal. Gloria pulled her worn Bible from under her pillow and opened it to Proverbs. Her eyes found a verse she'd memorized years ago. Better is a little with righteousness than great revenues. Without right, easy words when your belly was full. Harder when your children cried themselves to sleep from hunger. She closed the book and extinguished the candle. Outside. November rain began to fall. Inside. Gloria lay awake and wondered what price a soul was truly worth. December arrived with fog that clung to San Francisco like wet wool. Gloria moved through her days in a state of mounting tension. Hendrix sent another message. Then another. His patience was wearing thin. She responded with excuses she couldn't find the documents. The safe was always locked. Robert was home more than expected. All lies. She knew exactly where everything was. Meanwhile, Something shifted in the Caldwell household. Robert began noticing things. He commented on the improved meals, the fresh flowers in the hallways, the way Emma seemed brighter. "You're good with her," he said one morning, catching Gloria in the kitchen. She nearly dropped the bread dough. "Sir, my daughter. She smiles now." He hesitated, as if the words cost him. "Thank you." Before Gloria could respond, he was gone. But something in his voice, gratitude mixed with sorrow, made her chest tighten. Emma's attachment grew stronger daily. The child helped with everything. They baked bread together. Emma's small hands learning to knead. They sang hymns while folding laundry. When Gloria mended torn hems, Emma sat close and asked about stitching patterns. "Will you teach me to make those little flowers?" Emma pointed to the embroidery on a pillowcase. "Of course. We'll start tomorrow." Emma beamed. "I love you, Miss Gloria." The words struck like hammers. Gloria pulled the child into a hug, blinking back tears. How could she betray this innocent trust? Letters from home provided no comfort. Thomas wrote in careful script, "Mama, we had soup again. Sarah says she's not hungry, but I know she is." Michael drew a picture of when we had cake. He doesn't remember we never had cake. He imagined it. Gloria read those words by candlelight and felt her resolve crumbling. Her children were inventing memories of food they'd never eaten. How could any mother choose someone else's child over her own? Yet when she looked at Emma, she saw another kind of hunger, not for bread, but for love. One afternoon, she found Robert in the library. He was staring at a portrait of his late wife, shoulders slumped. "Sir, I didn't mean to intrude." "It's all right." He didn't turn. "Do you believe people can move past grief?" "Mrs. Hayes." The question surprised her. "I think grief never leaves. We just learn to carry it differently. Like a scar instead of an open wound." "Something like that." Robert finally looked at her. His eyes held an exhaustion that went beyond sleepless nights. "Emma's mother was everything good in this world. I don't know how to be both parents." "You're doing better than you think." He laughed bitterly. "Am I? My daughter calls the housekeeper Mama because I've been too buried in ledgers to notice she needed one." Gloria's breath caught. He'd heard. "She doesn't mean..." "Yes, she does. And she's right to..." Robert straightened his shoulders. "Thank you for giving her what I couldn't." He left before Gloria could find words. She stood alone in the library, surrounded by books and the ghost of a woman she'd never met, and realized something terrifying. She was starting to care about these people. Both of them. That night. She found Margaret's journal again. The safe combination stared at her from the page. She could have what Hendricks wanted within minutes. Her hands shook as she closed the book. Christmas preparations transformed the mansion into something almost magical. Emma insisted on decorating every room. Gloria helped hang garlands, string popcorn, arrange pine cones in crystal bowls. Robert even joined them one evening, awkwardly holding a ladder while Emma placed a star atop the tree. Higher. "Papa, it needs to touch the ceiling." "Any higher and I'll need wings," Robert said, but he was smiling. Gloria watched them and felt her heart crack open. This was what family looked like. Not perfect, still wounded, but healing. Later, while preparing dinner, Emma chatted about Christmas wishes. "I want a new doll and books and..." She paused. "Do you think Papa would let your children come for Christmas dinner?" Gloria's hands stilled over the rye. "Potatoes. That's very kind, sweetheart. But, please, I'd like to meet them. Thomas and Sarah and Michael. We'll see." Emma hummed contentedly and returned to setting the table. Then, casual as commenting on weather, she said, "Mama, do you think Papa will ever smile again? Really smile. Not just the polite kind." The knife slipped. Gloria caught it before it fell. "Emma, I know you're not my real mama." Emma's voice remained light, unconcerned. But you feel like what a mama should feel like? Is that wrong? Gloria set down the knife and turned. The child stood there, small and hopeful, waiting for permission to love. Oh, sweetheart. Gloria knelt and pulled Emma into her arms. That's not wrong at all. Emma burrowed close. Good. Because I need a mama, and you need somebody to love while your babies are far away. Tears streamed down Gloria's face. She held this child who wasn't hers, but felt like hers. And something inside her shifted irrevocably. She couldn't betray Emma, no matter what it cost. That evening, Robert found them in the parlor. Gloria was reading from her Bible. Emma nestled against her side. They didn't hear him approach. "Blessed are the pure in heart," Gloria read softly, "for they shall see God." "What does that mean?" Emma asked. "It means people who choose goodness, even when it's hard, will find peace eventually. Do you believe that?" Gloria's voice dropped to a whisper. "I'm trying to—" Robert cleared his throat. Both looked up, startled. He stood in the doorway, expression unreadable. "I apologize for interrupting. I wanted to say—" He struggled with the words. "I'm grateful for everything you do here. For Emma." "She's easy to love," Gloria said simply. Their eyes met. Something passed between them, unspoken but profound. Recognition, perhaps, or understanding. Two people who'd both loved and lost, trying to build something new from the rubble. Robert nodded and left. Gloria watched him go, feeling the walls around her heart continue to crumble. That night, alone in her boarding house room, she made a decision. She retrieved the combination from memory and wrote it on a slip of paper. She placed it in an envelope addressed to Hendricks. Then she burned it. The paper curled and blackened, combination turning to ash. Gloria watched it burn and felt both terror and relief. She'd just destroyed her only leverage, her children's only guarantee of food. But she'd kept her soul intact. She didn't know how she'd feed them now. She only knew she wouldn't do it through betrayal. Hendricks found her outside the market on a gray December morning. Gloria was selecting vegetables for the Caldwell household when his shadow fell across the produce stand. She looked up and felt her stomach drop. "Walk with me, Mrs. Hayes." It wasn't a request. They moved away from the crowds. Hendricks's face was pleasant, his voice mild, but his eyes were cold as February ice. "I've been patient, remarkably patient, considering our arrangement. I've tried, but don't—" The word cracked like a whip. "I know you have access. I know you found the safe. Yet you've delivered nothing." Gloria's mouth went dry. "How did you—" "I have sources everywhere, you foolish woman. Did you think I'd trust you completely?" He stepped closer. "I want those documents by Friday. 72 hours. I can't—" "You will, or I'll ensure you lose more than employment." His smile turned vicious. "I have connections in family court. Unfit mothers lose their children to orphanages, children separated, adopted out to different families. You'd never see them again." The world tilted. Gloria gripped the market basket to keep from falling. "You wouldn't— Try me. I've invested time and money in you. Mrs. Hayes, I expect returns." He adjusted his coat. "Friday, documents or children. Your choice." He walked away, leaving Gloria standing in the street. People flowed past her, oblivious. The sun shone weakly through clouds. Everything looked normal. But Gloria's world had just collapsed. She made it back to the boarding house before her legs gave out. The children were at the neighbors. Thank God. She couldn't let them see her like this. Her hands shook so badly she could barely light the lamp. Hendricks wasn't bluffing. Men like him never bluffed. He had connections, influence, the kind of power that could make a poor widow disappear along with her children. She could give him what he wanted. The combination was burned. but she'd memorized it. She could access the safe tonight, copy the documents, deliver them Friday. Her children would be safe. They'd stay together. All it required was betraying a man who'd shown her nothing but fairness, and his daughter who called her Mama. Gloria buried her face in her hands. God, please, show me another way. No answer came. Just wind rattling the window and the distant sound of the city going about its business, unconcerned with one woman's impossible choice. That night, she waited until her children slept, then crept to the Caldwell mansion. The servants' entrance was unlocked as always. She moved through dark hallways like a thief, which she supposed she was. Robert's study door stood open. The safe waited behind his desk, combination lock gleaming in moonlight. Gloria knelt before it and began turning the dial, left to 23, right to 7, left to 16. The lock clicked, the door swung open. Inside lay folders of documents, contracts, shipping manifests, everything Hendricks wanted. Gloria pulled them out, hands trembling. She could copy these in an hour, return them before dawn. No one would know. She carried the documents to her boarding house and set them on her narrow table. The children slept peacefully nearby, unaware their fate rested on paper and ink. Gloria sat down and stared at the documents until her eyes burned. Outside, December night pressed close. Inside, the candle flickered and danced. She thought of Emma's smile, of Robert's gratitude, of her own children's hunger. The mathematics of the soul had never been crueler. Gloria didn't sleep. She sat through the longest night of winter. Documents spread before her like accusations. The candle burned low, then lower, finally guttering out near dawn. She lit another from the dying flame. Numbers filled her head. Hendricks's payment would cover 2 months' rent. Maybe 3 if she stretched it. Food for the children, medicine when they got sick, shoes to replace the ones with holes. Then what she'd have sold her integrity for 90 days of survival. And she'd still be poor, still desperate, still at the mercy of men like Hendricks. But her children would eat. She calculated and recalculated. If she refused, eviction came in 3 weeks. The orphanage would take Thomas, Sarah, Michael. They'd be separated, sent to different homes. She'd lose them forever. If she complied, she betrayed the man whose daughter had wrapped small arms around her neck and whispered, "I love you, Mama." There was no third path, just 2 terrible choices and a soul hanging in the balance. Near dawn, Thomas stirred. "Mama, why are you awake?" "Just thinking." "Sweetheart, go back to sleep." He patted over, pressed against her side. "Are you sad?" "A little." Papa used to say being sad meant you cared about things. He said that was good. Gloria's throat closed. Daniel had said exactly that, usually while holding her after a difficult day. Their life had been hard, but it had been honest. He'd worked himself to death rather than compromise his principles. Teach the children that honor isn't something you trade away. He'd whispered in his final hours, "Not for anything." Thomas yawned and returned to his mattress, within minutes. His breathing evened out. Gloria watched her children sleep and felt something shift inside her chest. She couldn't do this. She couldn't trade away everything Daniel had died believing in. She couldn't teach her children that theft became acceptable when you were desperate enough. Some things mattered more than survival. Some prices were too high to pay. Gloria gathered the documents and held them close. Her children would suffer for this choice. They might lose her entirely. But they'd know their mother had chosen honor over expedience. That had to count for something. Dawn broke gray and cold. Gloria washed her face, dressed in her cleanest dress, and looked at her sleeping children one last time. She kissed each forehead gently. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "But I can't teach you that wrong becomes right when you're hungry enough. Your papa wouldn't want that. Neither do I." She walked to the Caldwell mansion through empty streets. Fog clung to everything. Muffling sound, Her footsteps echoed against cobblestones. The servant's entrance was locked this early. She knocked quietly and waited. When no one answered, she tried the main door. It opened. Robert stood there, already dressed for the day, clearly surprised. "Mrs. Hayes is everything. I need to speak with you in your study. Now, please." Something in her voice made him step aside. They walked through silent hallways to his private sanctuary. Gloria entered and turned to face him, documents clutched against her chest. "I have a confession to make," she began. "And I need you to hear all of it before you decide what to do." Robert's expression shifted from confusion to concern. "You're frightening me." "Good. You should be frightened. What I've done, what I almost did." Her voice broke. She steadied it through sheer will. 3 months ago, Marcus Hendricks hired me to spy on you." Then she told him everything. Robert listened in absolute silence. Gloria spoke quickly, words tumbling out like water from a broken dam. She told him about Daniel's death, the medical debts, her children's hunger, about Hendricks's proposition and her desperate acceptance, about finding the safe combination, stealing the documents, the threats against her children. She held nothing back. When she finished, she set the documents on his desk and stepped away. "I'm sorry. I know that's inadequate, but I couldn't—" Her voice fractured. "I couldn't betray you. Not after everything. Not after Emma," she couldn't continue. Tears streamed down her face, and she didn't bother wiping them away. Robert stood motionless for what felt like hours. His face had gone pale, then flushed, emotions shifting too quickly to track. Finally, he spoke. Why, one word. Gloria met his eyes. "Because theft is theft. Whether you're rich or poor. Because your daughter calls me mama. And I won't teach her that betrayal is acceptable when you're desperate. Because I've lost everything else, but I won't lose my soul." Robert's jaw worked. He looked at the documents, then back at her. "You're aware Hendricks could destroy you?" "Yes." "That you'll lose your position here immediately?" "Yes." "That your children might be taken from you?" Gloria's voice dropped to a whisper. "Yes." "Then why in God's name didn't you just take the money and run? Because you trusted me. And Emma loves me. And I couldn't live with myself if I betrayed that." She straightened her shoulders. "Do what you need to do. Call the authorities. Press charges. Dismiss me. I won't argue. I only ask that you not involve my children. Whatever punishment comes, let it fall on me alone." Robert stared at her for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. Not cruelly, but with something like wonder. "Wait here." He left the study. Gloria stood frozen, unsure whether to flee or stay. She stayed. Whatever came next, she'd face it standing upright. Robert returned an hour later with papers and a grim expression. "I've had investigators verify your story. Everything you said checks out. The debts, the boarding house, Hendricks's involvement." He paused. "Why didn't you come to me when he first approached you? Would you have believed a poor widow over a respected businessman?" "Probably not," Robert admitted. "But I would believe you now." He sat behind his desk and studied her. "You saved my company from Hendricks's sabotage. The shipping contract he wanted is worth $500,000. Without it, I'd have lost routes, suppliers, everything I've built. I didn't do it for reward. I know. That's what makes this remarkable." Robert opened a drawer and withdrew documents. "Half my profits from that contract for the next 5 years, approximately $75,000. It's yours." Gloria recoiled as if he'd struck her. "No, absolutely not. You earned it. I nearly stole from you. But you didn't. You chose integrity over survival." Robert's voice softened. "Let me help your children." "I won't take charity." "Then what will you take?" Gloria's mind raced. She thought of Thomas, Sarah, Michael. Of Emma. Of the impossible situation she'd navigated to reach this moment. A fair wage. Not as a housekeeper, but as someone who manages your household, and housing for my family. And she hesitated. Education for all the children. Mine and yours. Robert considered this. Salary of $200 a month. The staff wing has quarters suitable for a family. And private tutors for all 4 children. That's too generous. It's fair. Robert stood and extended his hand. You proved yourself priceless. Mrs. Hayes, I'd be a fool not to recognize that. Gloria stared at his hand. Then, slowly, she took it. His grip was warm, firm, respectful. One more thing, Robert said quietly. My daughter needs a mother. She's found one in you. I won't interfere with that, if anything. His voice caught. I'm grateful. Gloria felt something inside her chest crack and heal simultaneously. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We still have to deal with Hendricks. What will you do? Robert smiled. It wasn't kind. Let me worry about that. You focus on bringing your children home. 2 weeks later, Gloria stood in the Caldwell Mansion's kitchen and watched 4 children play together. Emma had taken to Thomas, Sarah, and Michael immediately. Within an hour of meeting, they'd formed an inseparable unit. Thomas showed Emma his carved wooden horse. Sarah taught her a clapping game. Michael simply held Emma's hand and beamed. The staff wing quarters were larger than the entire boarding house. 3 bedrooms, a sitting room, proper heat. Gloria's children had stared in wonder at beds that didn't sag, windows without cracks, a stove that worked consistently. Is this really ours? Mama, Sarah had whispered. Yes, sweetheart. Really ours. Now, watching them play, Gloria felt tears prick her eyes. They were safe, fed, warm, together. Robert entered the kitchen and paused, taking in the scene. 4 children building a castle from wooden blocks, their laughter filling the space. Emma's dark curls mixed with Thomas's lighter hair. Sarah's careful hands steadying Michael's clumsy ones. They're good together, Gloria said softly. Yes. Robert moved to stand beside her. I spoke with my attorneys about Hendricks. He won't trouble you again. What did you do? Schecht reminded him that attempted corporate espionage carries significant legal consequences, and that I have better lawyers. Robert's smile was grim. He's decided to pursue opportunities in Chicago. Gloria exhaled slowly. Thank you. They stood in comfortable silence, outside. February snow melted under weak sunshine. The first crocuses pushed through frozen ground in the garden. Emma looked up from the blocks and called out, Mama, can we have hot chocolate? Gloria started toward the stove, but Robert touched her arm gently. Let me. You've done enough. He busied himself heating milk and mixing cocoa. Gloria watched him work. This man who'd shown her mercy when he could have shown her judgment, who'd seen her worst moment and responded with grace. The children received their hot chocolate with enthusiasm. Thomas thanked Robert formally. Sarah bobbed a curtsy. Michael just grinned, chocolate already on his nose. Emma settled beside Gloria on the bench. Are you happy here? Mama. Gloria pulled the child close. Her child now, in all the ways that mattered. Very happy. Good, because Papa says you're staying forever. Does he? Emma nodded. He said you're family now. All of you. Gloria looked at Robert. He was wiping chocolate from Michael's face with exaggerated care, making the boy giggle. Her throat tightened. Robert caught her gaze and held it. Something passed between them. Tentative but real. Not love, not yet, but the possibility of it. The recognition that 2 broken people might build something whole together. Emma's right, Robert said quietly. You are family. If you'll have us. Gloria thought of the long road that had brought her here. Daniel's death, the crushing poverty, Hendrix's trap, her impossible choice. Every step had been agony. Every decision had cost her something. But somehow, she'd arrived at this moment, this kitchen full of warmth and laughter, these children who belonged together, this man who looked at her with respect and growing affection. We'll have you, she said simply. Emma cheered. The other children joined in, not entirely sure why, but happy nonetheless. Robert's smile reached his eyes for the first time in 3 years. Outside. Spring crept closer. Crocuses bloomed in defiance of winter. Inside, lamplight cast golden halos around the people Gloria loved. In a world where everyone had a price, Gloria had proven herself priceless. And in doing so, she'd bought what money never could, a family built on trust. And a man's awakening to what matters more than ledgers. The shipping baron had spent 3 years deaf to his daughter's needs. A poor widow's courage finally taught him to hear. And in learning to listen, he'd discovered something worth more than all the contracts and shipping routes in the world. He'd discovered home.